Lucid Praxis presents Feast like a god, die like a slave. Inside the decadent banquets of ancient Rome. A host's dining room, the triclinium, was often elaborately decorated, designed not just to impress, but to intimidate. Guests reclined on couches positioned in a strict hierarchy, literally arranged by social rank. The closer to the host, the more honorable the position. Invitations weren't about friendship, they were currency. Cicero himself once wrote of inviting specific guests to advance his senatorial ambitions. The evening's success didn't rest solely on food, but on spectacle. Musicians, poets, jesters, dancers, even exotic animals might be brought in to entertain. Everything was orchestrated for effect. Status was reinforced and control maintained. Even the food played a role. Lavish spreads of peacock tongues, honeyed dormice, and whole roasted boar served as symbols of power. The message was clear. I can afford excess. I am above restraint. This indulgence, however, often masked a darker truth. That beneath the polished marble and scented oils, Rome was beginning to rot from within. Contrary to modern myth, there was no specific vomitorium where guests would purge themselves mid-feast. But the notion of purging to continue eating wasn't fiction either. According to Suetonius, the Emperor Claudius allegedly carried a feather to tickle his throat mid-banquet, so he could make room for more delicacies. A typical Roman banquet began with the gustatio, appetizers like olives, eggs, and mulsum, spiced honey wine. The prima mensa followed with heavier meats, seafood, and lavish sauces. The final act, secunda mensa, brought fruits, pastries, and sweet wine. Dishes were rich, heavily spiced, and imported from the empire's farthest corners, another symbol of imperial reach. But the true opiate of these feasts was wine. Unlike Greek custom, Romans did not always dilute their drink. Wine was often mixed with seawater, honey, herbs, and sometimes even laced with narcotics. Lucilius, famed for his opulent tastes, hosted dinners that bankrupted lesser men trying to imitate them. These feasts were more than gluttony. They were a ritual, repeated until the senses dulled and inhibition died. In that fog of excess, dignity was often the first casualty. Banquets were not merely about food. They were stages for domination, not just over political rivals, but over bodies. Slaves were everywhere, pouring wine, playing music, massaging limbs. Their silence was expected, their obedience absolute. In the Satyricon, Petronius offers a fictional but vivid portrayal of Trimalchio's feast, where grotesque luxury and vulgar humor intermingle. Trimalchio boasts of his wealth while slaves scurry to fulfill absurd commands. The satire was biting, but it was not entirely fiction. Some banquets blurred into orgies. Sexual favors were expected from slaves or even guests, used to curry favor or humiliate rivals. Women at these events, whether elite or enslaved, were often both decoration and currency. Pliny the Elder observed how moral decay mirrored material luxury, suggesting Rome had grown sick on its own indulgence. Power allowed the powerful to blur all boundaries between pleasure and pain, human and object, ritual and cruelty. Behind the curtain of opulence, these gatherings revealed Rome's darkest instincts, a hunger not just for excess, but for control. By the 1st century AD, Rome's feasts had become both metaphor and mirror of the empire itself. Nero's golden banquets, held in his rotating dining room at the Domus Aurea, showcased the scale of Roman excess. But they also highlighted its fragility. His death, like his feasts, was a performance. Suicide as the curtain fell. Banquets symbolized the divide between classes. While the elite debated which vintage of wine best accompanied honey-glazed flamingo, the urban poor queued for bread rations. The plebs grew restless. The legions grew bitter. Emperors distracted with games and feasts. Panem et circenses. But the debt was mounting. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, warned against this decay. Luxury has turned her back upon nature. Everything which was plain and wholesome she has discarded. Eventually, Rome's grandeur became its vulnerability. Its decadence eroded discipline, its wealth attracted barbarians, and its people, accustomed to comfort, forgot how to suffer with dignity. The Roman banquet became a fitting symbol for an empire in decline, rich, beautiful, intoxicating, and doomed. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.